Welcome back to the Tech Coach Corner YouTube series presented by Dyknow. I'm Tiara Lustig, I'll be your host today, and today we have a great episode with Kyle Niemis all about flipped learning, why it's important, why it's effective, and how you can really implement it during and following remote learning. Before we jump in, I just want to remind everyone to please subscribe to Dyknow's YouTube channel, turn on notifications so that you are getting notified when we post new videos, and go check us out on social media at Dyknow on Twitter and Facebook and at Dyknow K12 on Instagram. We'd love if you could give us a follow, and we'll definitely engage with you. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. I'm Tiara Lustig, your host today, and for today's episode, I'm joined by Kyle Niemis. Kyle, would you mind giving a brief introduction to yourself before we get started?
Sure. So my name's Kyle Niemis, and I am a middle school tech coach, 6th through 8th grade. I've been that for a couple of years, but most of my time in education was as a middle school science teacher.
Awesome. So we had you as a guest on our Tackling Tech podcast, which was a great episode on flipped learning. I'd like today to dive in a little bit deeper to flipped learning and kind of the why behind it, why flipped learning is effective, and why you might be a big flipped learning advocate in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk for hours about, I think, the benefits of flipped learning for sure.
Cool. So why don't you jump into a bit of the why about flipped learning is effective, maybe your top 3 points on why a teacher or a tech coach should implement flipped learning in their classroom.
Yeah, so I can tell you this. And so before I start spitting off all the benefits of flipped learning, I feel like I need to hit up like what I call the elephant in the room. So, and that is that it does take a little bit of time and effort to kind of to do this style. And it does require a little bit of changing maybe what you've already done. And I know especially now with kind of all these changes, maybe the last thing you want to do is maybe change things up. But I can tell you that flipped learning, and by that I mean like really like recording yourself instead of kind of standing in front of the classroom, has so many benefits. So whatever obstacle you think is in your way, I would say that I would encourage you to try it because I think it's going to be worth it. So so top 3 you say, huh? So here's what I think the top 3 benefits of flipped learning. And so by flipped learning, like I said, I mean recording yourself giving a lesson. So that could be the kids watch it at home or the kids watch it in class. But either way, you are no longer standing in front of the classroom. You are recording yourself giving the lesson. That's like one of the main pieces. And so if I'm going to hit up, I think what is my favorite, it's the relationship piece. But here's what I mean is that when you're in front of the class teaching, you're talking at kids realistically, even though you might be having some conversations, for the most part, you're talking at kids. But when your lessons are recorded and they're even watching them in class, it seems weird because why would they watch you when you're there? But ultimately what ends up happening is it's like cloning yourself. So the video you is giving the lesson, they're talking at them, but the real life you is walking around and you're having such great conversations with kids about their learning, about their sports game, about their life, whatever it is. So one of my favorite things about flipped learning is I spend all my days like talking next to kids instead of at kids. So that's one of my favorite things about it for sure. And the second thing, and this is probably the biggest learning benefit, is the pace. So as you might be able to tell, I talk pretty fast. My kids experienced that when I was in the classroom, when I used to lecture, and you can see that look on their face when they're like, oh my gosh, I got nothing that this dude is saying. So with pace, it's really, really great because they get to slow the video down and pause it and rewind it, or even kids who think somehow they can go faster can speed you up. So every kid gets the same content, but they can go at whatever pace they want, which is just, no matter how hard you try to do that, you're never, ever going to be able to accomplish that standing in front of the class lecturing. You just never are going to hit the pace of every single kid and what their needs are. And then I would say my third and final one that I love about Flipped Classroom is it's accessible. So like, again, I don't know if you were a wonderful student in school or whatever, but I can tell you there were some subjects where I was not a wonderful student. And my mom would be like, all right, so like, how'd it go in social studies? And I'm like, oh, it's fine. Any homework? No. Notes? No. And I can easily kind of brush it off. But now that there's videos, the parents have access to all the lessons, and the kids, of course, have access to all the lessons. So like everything, it basically makes doing work at home so much easier. And for the reason I bring up the parent piece is because, especially students who struggle, parents are so appreciative because they're able to sit there next to their kid and have the video lesson, and they don't have to try to figure out what happened in school. They have the exact lesson and they can help them out. So having the videos wherever and whenever is such a huge benefit. So I would say that, again, the top three are the relationships you get with kids, the pace that they can go at, and the fact that they're accessible wherever they are.
Yeah, and I kind of a follow-up question that was triggered for me when you were talking about that is, have you realized kind of an increase in flipped learning styles during this time of remote learning, since most teachers are, being a more of a mentor facilitator and holding office hours rather than doing classes via Zoom? I almost see that as maybe a driver of flipped learning once we go back to the classroom.
Oh my, yes. Oh, they're like so many teachers who are making lessons that they've never done ever in their lives before. And that's why I think if you're listening to this, I would encourage you that when you go back to continue that, don't think that that was a remote thing where I had to record and now I can get back to standing in front of the classroom. I'm hoping that you see the benefits of having videos even when we're back to school, because now you're totally right. I think a lot of teachers have this new skill set, and I really hope that they continue with it.
Definitely. I think there'll be a lot of positive and difficult changes when we go back, but I think flipped learning implementation will be a great one that definitely increases. So thank you, Kyle, for outlining why flipped learning is important, how people can implement it. Will you let people know where they can find you if they want to learn more about flipped learning or Classroom Q?
Yeah, a couple things. So you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Niemis, and I'm also I'm partnered up with Eric Geis and Nick Johnson, and we're actually doing a flipped learning series every Wednesday starting in mid-August at 8:30 p.m. in which we're going to basically do our flipped flops. We have a whole bunch of episodes that are going to be the three of us and the mistakes that we made, and hope that everyone can help learn from them. So that's going to be, again, you can find the information on Twitter at Kyle Niemis, but we'd love for you to tune into our YouTube series and check out some of our flops, and hopefully we can help you out too.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that. So that's an exciting thing. I'll definitely be tuning into that and checking that out. Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for being with us today to talk about flipped learning. We can't wait to have you back again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.